Hey guys, I'm Cheyenne and welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my ultimate guide to learning Japanese. So I've been studying Japanese on and off for about 10 years now, and even though I'm not where I want to be in terms of level-wise, I've still set a solid foundation in studying, and so I do know a lot about how to study, especially how to study on your own. So, the first thing that you should learn when you're studying Japanese as a complete beginner is learning the vowels first. When I was learning Japanese, I wish I knew the vowels so that I could actually pronounce the words and know what I'm saying. But it's okay, we all make mistakes. But anyway, there's only 5 vowels in Japanese, which is a, I, U, e, and o. So it's pretty simple and easy to understand. Once you learn the vowels, you can pretty much say any word you want in Japanese. So the next step is to learn vocabulary words. As kids, we usually learn through speaking and listening instead of writing and reading, because we usually start speaking before we read and write. And before I know how to read and write in Japanese, I already knew basic words like konnichiwa and sayonara. And even though I couldn't read or write them, I still knew how to speak it. And even if it sounds kind of basic to know just like a few words, like the ones that I just mentioned, it's still really important, especially because you can just pick up on so many words just by listening and hearing things or watching Japanese shows or movies or other types of media like that. So you can basically just pick up on words that you hear from media just like a child would pick up on words from their parents by listening and repeating those words. I used the dictionary when I first started learning Japanese, and I would highly recommend doing that because you learn so many words and it's just full of different vocabulary words that you can use and study. And I would also recommend using flashcards because you can study those vocab words. Pretty much any physical dictionary would do. I had a physical dictionary when I first started, but then I moved to a digital one on my phone and my iPad. So either one really works, but I think having a physical one is really good too because you can just look and read and see what words you would need to know versus a digital one where you have to actually look up the words instead of having a book that just has all of the words that you would need to know. So the next thing to do is to learn Japanese phrases. So when I first started, the phrases that I picked up on was itadakimasu and shoganai. It's good to know phrases because it's good for conversation practice and understanding Japanese culture. And you can also learn phrases by watching anime, reading manga, or just simply Googling Japanese phrases on different websites. So you can actually purchase a travel phrase book on Amazon or just going to a bookstore. When I was younger, I had a travel phrase book that I got from Barnes and Nobles, and it just had all of the essential phrases that you would use, like hi, hello, different times, dates, things like that. And a lot of those phrases that I've learned from having that little phrase book is still useful today. So now we're getting into the meat and bones of learning Japanese, and that is to learn hiragana and katakana. Now, some may suggest to learn hiragana first instead of learning it at the same time because that might be too challenging, but it's really up to you and based on your learning style. Hiragana is extremely important not only because it's a part of the writing system, but it also helps you pronounce Japanese words and words that are written in kanji characters. So with katakana, that is a type of writing system where the Japanese language borrows foreign words from different countries like America or Saka, and those words are used from other nations. So for learning hiragana and katakana, I would highly suggest downloading a chart from Google or Pinterest. If you just search hiragana and katakana chart, you'll find it. And I would also suggest studying with flashcards because there's really no other way to learn hiragana and katakana besides memorizing. So using flashcards is a great way to memorize the characters. If you take a look at my earlier videos, you'll see how I learned hiragana using other resources besides flashcards and charts, because there's other fun ways that you could also learn how to memorize hiragana and katakana. So check those out. So my next tip is to learn kanji. So knowing a few kanji characters is really important when learning Japanese. There's over 2,000 essential kanji characters, which may sound like a lot, but once you get the hang of learning more and more, it'll kind of just become natural and easy to you. So one of the ways that you can learn kanji is by using different apps. And I'm proud to say that this video is sponsored by an app called MochiKanji. So MochiKanji is an app that teaches you Japanese vocab words and kanji. This app is really amazing whether you're a beginner or an advanced learner. Basically any level that you are in your Japanese learning journey, this app would be helpful for you. One of the key features of MochiKanji is golden time. So the golden time is the time before you forget your learned words or kanji. This feature combines spaced repetition and an algorithm that analyzes your learning history. The MochiKanji app will divide your vocabulary and kanji into 5 levels of memorization, from level 1, which is just learned, to level 5, which is long-term memory. MochiKanji's vocabulary and kanji are designed under the form of flashcards with images, audio, meanings, and example sentences. I really love that the flashcards are all embedded into one app, so you can just use everything that you need to know in one source. Another really cool feature is that MochiKanji teaches you over 6,000 words and kanji and is divided up into different courses. MochiKanji has a lot of different vocabulary words divided by categories such as nursing, IT, and so much more. And also they have courses based on the JLPT level. One of the courses is actually from Minna no Nihongo, which is a type of textbook, which I find really cool that you can actually practice vocabulary words from a real textbook that's used for English learners or any learner that wants to learn Japanese. I personally really like the IT vocabulary course too, because I'm actually thinking of studying computer science and working in Japan and doing that as a job. So I really thought that that was interesting that they had that, because that's actually incredibly useful for me. And I love the soundtrack and the music on MochiKanji. It's just so cute and so fun, because I've never really seen an app that has a soundtrack behind it before. As some of you may know, I'm pretty obsessed with using apps because that's my personal favorite way of learning, and I've already learned so much from using MochiKanji. I love the design and just the whole vibe of the app. It's really amazing, and it's also just really fun too. So to download the MochiKanji app, just go to the app or Google Play Store, then search MochiKanji and choose MochiKanji-Learn Kanji, and then just click download. And I'll also put the download link in the description box below. So the next step to learning Japanese is learning the grammar. Now, grammar can be really complicated. Even I still struggle with it, and I've been learning Japanese for years because there's just so much to learn. But it's good to start with the basics at least. And I would highly recommend buying a grammar textbook. I think anyone would do, but there are some specific recommendations that you can research about. And also, once you master most of the vocabulary words, then all you have to do is just put the sentences together. So it wouldn't be as complicated if you started without knowing any vocabulary words at all. The Japanese language uses something called particles, which you may be familiar with if English is not your first language, or if you speak another language other than English that uses particles. But yeah, it is very essential to have particles, because without them, in most Japanese sentences, it wouldn't make sense without the particles. Another really key thing to know is that the Japanese sentence structure is different than the English sentence structure. So the English sentence structure is subject, verb, object, but the Japanese sentence structure is subject, object, verb. So usually the verb would usually be at the end of the sentence for Japanese. So once you understand the sentence structure and some or most of the particles, you can basically form any sentence in Japanese and even have like a conversation and talk to people in Japanese once you get the hang of it. Those are pretty much all of the things you need to learn when it comes to Japanese. So now we'll get into how to put it into practice. So the first thing that I would recommend is to practice listening. You can listen to Japanese lyrics, anime, or any form of media where the person is speaking Japanese. My favorite way is listening because I love listening to Japanese songs and different artists on Spotify or Apple Music, and it's just really fun because I pick up on so many words, especially when I'm able to read the lyrics, because that's really helpful for me. So after you practice listening, the next step would be to practice speaking. Now this can be a little bit challenging if you don't have a native speaker to speak with that can correct your Japanese. But a little trick that I've used is that I watch videos of native speakers and then I repeat back what they say and their exact pronunciation, tone, and voice. You can also use Google Translate to practice your pronunciation skills by just speaking into the little microphone feature. And I do this all the time and it really helps with my speaking skills because if Google Translate can't pick up on what you're saying in Japanese, then that probably means that you need to work on your pronunciation skills a little bit more. After you practice speaking, then the next step would be to practice reading. And this can be a little bit difficult depending on your learning style, but if you already learned hiragana, katakana, and some kanji, then this won't be too hard for you. You can practice reading articles, novels, manga, and pretty much anything you want as long as it's in Japanese. Physically writing in Japanese may be the hardest step because there's just so much to memorize and learn how to write, especially with kanji because you have to practice the stroke orders and you have to write in that specific order or else it won't come out right. Even though writing may not seem as important these days because of technology and the digital age that we live in, but based on your learning style, writing may be really helpful for you. Physically writing in Japanese can help a lot with your memorization and just understanding Japanese better overall. I personally prefer typing using an English keyboard, but you have to learn Romaji to do that, which is neither essential nor recommended to do. It was kind of a mistake that I did because I used to use Romaji in order to learn how to pronounce the Japanese characters, and so I kind of just stuck with that, and that's why I'm able to type in Romaji, which translates into the Japanese characters. It'll make sense if you try it yourself. So the essential books that you would need to study Japanese is a textbook, grammar book, novel, or a manga to read. And there's this textbook called Genki, which I would recommend for beginners. So I'm subscribed to a lot of YouTubers that teach and speak Japanese, but my 4 recommended YouTubers is Puni Puni Japan, Japanese Ammo with Misa, Miku Real Japanese, and Learn Japanese with Tanaka-san. All of these YouTubers have a very specific learning style and different teaching methods, so depending on your style of learning and understanding, each YouTuber may work for you or may not, but it's good to just watch all of them and see which YouTuber is the best one and which one helps you understand Japanese the best. Plus, it's completely free to watch them, so you're learning Japanese without any extra cost. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. There's so much to learn in Japanese, but I tried to summarize it in the most simplest way possible. But if you're learning Japanese right now, especially if you're a beginner, good luck on your Japanese studies. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Mochi Mochi for sponsoring this video. Bye!